I don't know what's happening here.
Might be too much bandwidth trying to stream on both.
It's usually not an issue. Hold on. Cheese and crackers. Okay. That's wild. So y'all know, I told you, when I start speaking truth, the enemy be getting mad. But I'm gonna still keep speaking the truth anyway. So I need y'all praying so we can get through this chapter, okay? It's not gonna be hard. We were just reading chapter 6. I'm sorry, chapter 21, verse 6 through 7. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick right back up because I don't know what's happening and I just want to make sure that I maximize the time that we have together, okay? So cast the net on the right side of the boat, he told them, and you'll find some. So they did, and they were unable to haul it in because of the large number of fish. The disciple, the one Jesus loved, said to Peter, "It is the Lord." So it is from there that he absolutely understood who he was and got that revelation. And so God gave instruction. He gave instruction and he wanted to partner with them, and they weren't successful until they partnered with the Lord. Okay, so God allows a supernatural catch with his partnership. You will find the catch is the promise. What is he asking you to catch? We're all supposed to be fishers of men. Okay, so I was giving the example of how the Lord has been on me about my temple maintenance and how I thought Pastor John was the one doing all of the fitness things, and I was just like his admin and doing the meal prepping and the juicing and the herbs, the health and wellness side of fitness. And the Lord was like, no, you need to get your body right and you need to get certified because I need you to do this thing. That is a part of my bait. I catch fish in the fitness world. I catch fish in an LGBTQIA plus world. It is not by happenstance that this is how I'm set up. What is God asking you to catch? I catch fish through the books that I write and the blogs that I write and the podcasts that I produce. You have to partner with God and then he will bring you the catch, not the other way around. Okay, so their obedience was rewarded with so many fish they couldn't even haul in the net. Okay, so I just want to make sure I call out because we're on a new video. Peter reversed to his old occupation before he became a fisher of man. After Christ rises, well, you know, he goes to Calvary, he gets beat up really, really bad. He dies, he is buried, he's raised again. Peter goes back to his old occupation because he didn't cuss everybody out. He didn't cut off an ear. He's denied Jesus 3 times. He is going back to his old ways. He's reverting back to his old ways, right? And so, even with that, he became a fisher of men, right? When Jesus called him. So we're having a full circle moment because now God is sending Jesus to draw them in post resurrection. Okay, so this reminds Jesus, I'm sorry, this reminds the disciples of how Jesus initially made them fishers of men. He caught them while they were doing their day jobs. Okay, so let's keep going. Verse 8. When Simon Peter heard it was the Lord, he tied his outer clothing around him, for he had taken it off, and plunged into the sea, since they were not far from the land, about 100 yards away. The other disciples came in the boat, dragging a net full of fish. When they got out on the land, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish lying on it and bread. Bring some of the fish you just caught, Jesus told them. So Simon Peter climbed up and hauled the net ashore, full of large fish. 153 of them. Underline 153 of them. Even though there were so many, the net was not torn. Let's park there because there's a lot to unpack there. So the charcoal garden, it really sets the scene where Peter has denied Jesus 3 times, where we know John is the one who has the relationships and the connections, right? He has to talk to the people to get Peter even in the courtyard while they're talking to Jesus. We know that the Jews don't want to go any further than the courtyard, but they want to see to it that Jesus is killed because that's what they want. But they also don't want to miss Passover dinner, and if they go any further than the courtyard, it's going to make them unclean. Remember all of that from previous chapters. Jesus is reimagining. Okay, so now we have the charcoal garden set there at the beach. They just caught fish. He has the charcoal fire going, and he's really just trying to set up the scene where Peter has denied Jesus 3 times at that fire with the high priest in the courtyard. Now, let's go to 153 of the fish. 153 is significant. Okay, and numbers mean things. Numbers, I actually have a book called Numbers That Will Preach, really, really good when it comes to numbers. Not to be confused with numerology, which is demonic, okay? But God can speak through numbers. And we don't typically see 153 like that. We see numbers in, like, we know 4, that means man. 5 means grace. I'm sorry, 6 means man, 5 means grace, 7 means maturity, perfection, 8 means new beginning. Like, numbers mean things, they're significant. The number 153 is associated with Avisa Pisces. So this is where people that do astrology get the word Pisces from, because it is a fish. Um, we don't do astrology, okay? But I'm just giving you words so you understand where it comes from. So it also means the vessel of a fish, an ancient Pythagorean symbol used by early Christians. So y'all know that little fish, the little fish. I'll show you my little picture that I drew, but there's usually like a little fish that Christians are using, and we typically use it because we call ourselves fishers of men. And so to create this fish, it's really made of 2 circles that are intertwined. Okay? And so the first circle is God, the second circle is man, and when you put the 2 circles together, there's a little middle piece that's connected, and that's the marriage of God and man. It looks like a little fish. Okay? And so brought together in a sacred marriage, this is what generates the image of the fish, and that is the significance of 153. So I will show you. Don't laugh at my little drawing, but y'all see my little circles? So that's God, that's man, and then I made the fish green. So I'm sure you've all seen the little fish, right? Have we not seen this little fish? We've seen this little fish. I see it everywhere. Some people get tattoos of it, but it means that, we're being fishers of men. But this is a ceremonial, significant covenant building place. God is restoring Peter in this moment. And cutting covenant with God is important. Okay, so now they're about to have a God and man marriage. And so everything that Peter tore down, God is restoring. Okay, so let's keep going. Verse 12. Come and have breakfast, Jesus told them. None of the disciples dared ask him, Who are you? Because they knew it was the Lord. Remember when they were on the water, they weren't for sure. And then John, the beloved, he was able to recognize that that was Jesus. He told Peter. After this, now that they're to the shore, everybody knows this is Jesus. There's no second guessing. There's no questioning. Okay, they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them. He did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. Now, I want to park here because why? It's very important for us to understand this. Jesus took care of their physical need before he even addressed anything spiritual. And so us here on earth, we have to make sure that we're doing these things too. This is why you see me always, I will ask for a donation in a minute when it comes to people who have a need. This is why we adopt families when it comes to Thanksgiving and Christmas. I don't even believe in Christmas, but why? It's an opportunity to touch people and meet their need. You have to make sure that you're taking care of their physical need. If they're hungry, if they need something, like their kids may need clothes or coats, you have to take care of the need first. because I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I'm in school or I'm even at church, I can't pay attention if I'm hungry. All I hear is wah 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 wah. Okay, so Jesus took care of their physical need. They've been working all night. They've been toiling. They didn't catch any fish until he came, but he took care of their physical need before he started to address the spiritual needs. Okay, we need to be like Jesus in that respect. Okay, all right. So with that, eating with Jesus was like an additional verification of his resurrection. Remember, the whole point of this book is that there's so many signs and wonders written. So that way we believe Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. That's the whole purpose of John, right? Okay, so this is an additional verification of his resurrection, and they do it again in the book of Acts, chapter 10, verse 41. Okay, so this confirms the certainty of who he is for those who may have doubts. All right, so John presents three accounts of Jesus' resurrection, which is significant. And this is where Jesus begins to initiate the reconciliation when it comes to Peter denying Jesus. Okay, so let's go ahead and start at verse 15. When they had eaten breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said to them, you know I love you. Feed my lambs, he said. A second time he asked them, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, he said, you know I love you. Shepherd my sheep, he told them. He asked him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was grieved that he had asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know that, you know everything. You know that I love you. And then he says, feed my sheep. And verse 18, he says, truly I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will tie you and carry you where you don't want to go. I'll go back to that, but I want to stop and park where Jesus begins to restore Peter, okay? Because in his last instance that Peter had with Jesus, we all know before the crucifixion, he was talking to Jesus about how he would lay down his life. Like, no, you can't go. I'll go before you go. I will die for you. I'm a ride or die, pretty much is what he was saying. But then when the stuff hit the fan, he was denying God and he was just scared, honestly. And so God is initiating the reconciliation with Peter. And so when it comes to verse 15, he says, do you love me more than these? This is the restoration from his first denial. But he's saying, do you agape me? So each love that he's using is different. Do you agape me? And Peter says, yes, Lord, I phileo you. I love you like with a brotherly love. And God's like, Peter, do you love me? And so then we know verse 16, he says, a second time, do you love me? Do you agape me? And that's not what Peter is hearing. And so he's like, yes, Lord, of course I love you. And that's not what he's getting. Peter doesn't understand that Jesus is reversing his denials, though. Okay. And so, even when it comes to the reconciliation, we should be more like Jesus. Why? Because Jesus is offering grace. Okay. And so, we just had an instance where, and I probably because I studied this even more, I knew to be gracious, right? So we just had an instance where someone that we were close with, we don't speak to anymore, and it was their choice. And if you ever want to leave, I'm never gonna hold you hostage, okay? But I'm always pray for you and your family and all the things. I wish you Godspeed. And so we seen them, and I was like, oh. like we're in close proximity. And the Lord was like, they're not doing good. You need to pray for them. Okay. I knew Pastor John was in a space where he's just like, I'm done with it. Wash my hands, we're good. And I was just like, I don't think that's it though. I don't think that's it. So um, we have an opportunity to connect and we speak, and it was just all about being gracious. And so I started the conversation because I don't care. I love you. I don't feel away. It's fine. But we need to be more like Jesus, because why? What did he do? He offered grace in order to pursue reconciliation, because that's a God thing. We are love. That's our greatest commandment post resurrection, is to love and love our neighbors like we love ourselves, right? I love me a lot. I'm gonna give me a million chances. So I'm gonna do whatever he tells me to do when it comes to that. So we need to forgive freely, and that is how we show love. That doesn't mean access is granted again, but we should be gracious. We should be forgiven freely. And we want to make sure that we are reconciling anything that the Lord wants us to reconcile, okay? So Peter again is saying, yes, Lord, I phileo you. Like, I brotherly love you. And that's not where we are with agape, okay? Agape, and the first one is agapeo, which it means to love unconditionally and sacrificially, laying down one's life. Remember, Peter said he would lay down his life for Jesus until it was actually time to lay down his life. And so that is the type of love that Jesus is asking him if that he has for him. Do you have that type of love for me? And so in the last instance, Jesus and Peter have this this time. Jesus is intentional with his use of the word agapeo toward Peter. And so do you claim what you did previously, Peter, is what he's saying. Because remember, before everything happened, when we were at dinner, you said you lay down your life. Will you? Do you love me like that? Are you willing to sacrifice? And I don't think, honestly, this is why I'll be like, no, people need to know when it comes to, um, salvation. You really do give up a lot. You sacrifice a lot. It's agape. Like, we are professing our agape love to Christ. We are saying that we're willing to love unconditional. We are saying that we are willing to sacrifice whatever, and literally crucifying our flesh and laying down our life every single day. This is why we hear some of our favorite Christian rappers say that they're dead. They're killing their flesh so much so that it doesn't matter what they want. They only want what God wants. This is why we see even Jude and other disciples say that they're a slave to Jesus, because it's not about what I want. I agape God so much that I'm willing to lay down what I want and sacrifice what I want for his glory. That's what he's asking him. And that's where we need to be as believers. And if we're honest, a lot of us got saved for fire insurance. Like, I just don't want to go to hell. But we didn't understand or count the cost to what it would actually take. Yeah. So Jesus is intentional because he wants to restore him and reverse all of the denials that he had. Okay. So he restores him from all three. And Jesus, on the last time, he comes down to the level of Peter. He's just like, well, can you just love me? Like brotherly love? Do you love me in that way? And he finally is like, I love you. Like, basically, why are you asking me this? This grieves him so much because he asked him 3 times, not realizing that Jesus was doing this to restore him. Okay. So Jesus is engaging Peter and his willingness to sacrifice himself for Jesus and his people. And so the third time was meant to compel Peter to reflect on his lack of affection for Jesus, hence his denial of Jesus 3 times. Now, when we get to verse 18, Jesus is really prophesying to Peter about what's going to happen in his life. He's going to lay down his life. It's going to be required of him. This is, a part of the thing. You're going to lay down your life just like I did because this is what you always promised. And so basically, he's nicely saying crucifixion is in your future. Knowing this, Jesus still commanded Peter to follow him. Okay, so let's get back to verse 18. He says, "Truly I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will tie you and carry you where you do not want to go." He said this to indicate what kind of death Peter would glorify God. After saying this, he told him to follow me. Just because God tells you to follow him doesn't mean the path is always going to be easy. We see this. He's asking, do you agape me? Are you willing to sacrifice? We know the fruit of the Spirit, right? Love is patient, love is kind, it holds no records of wrong. Like, love and marriage is not easy. God is asking him to do something that he's never been able to do before. You're going to have to sacrifice. You have to do some things you don't want to do. And that's just in being spiritually mature. So I want to make sure that we call these things out because it's so important for us because we're required to do these things too. Okay? So, even in all that, he says, follow me. I love this because we know even when you count the cost, even when you realize that it's not always something that's fun or feels good or feels like it's financially prosperous or you become an influence and all things, it's still good enough to follow him. So that's always great for me to share. And so let's go to John chapter 14, verse 21 real quick. He says, "He who knows my commands and obeys them loves me." So he's asking him, do you love me? Do you agape me? Well, God already gave us a breadcrumb to show how we love him. Because it's one thing to say you love somebody and then you do something else, right? Guys do it all the time. And not just guys, but people do it all the time, right? I love you, girl, and then go cheat. And go sleep with people and go on dates. And they're liking other people's pictures on social media. That's not love. Jesus shows us in John chapter 14, he who knows my commands, that means you got to read the word to know the commandments. And you got to obey them. Because we know the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they knew the commandments. They weren't living them. Not all of them. They were picking and choosing. Sounds familiar to today, right? We like some scriptures and we don't like others. One sin is bigger than the other. No. He who knows my commands and obeys them, that's who loves me. Do you love him? You got something you need to work on? No judgment here. I want you to just know where you are and take that to God. Okay? All right, we're almost there. So, verse 20, Peter turned around and saw the disciple Jesus loved following him. The one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and asked, "Lord, who is the one that's going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about him?" Now, Peter, I need you to relax because God just restored you. He just gave you the command to follow him and all of the things that you need to do. And Peter is physically and spiritually taking his eyes off of Jesus. Why? Because he asked the Lord, what about him? What about John? Why are you worried about John? Worry about yourself. Why are you worried about John? He says, what about John? This reveals Peter's struggle with Christ's will for his life because he's worried about how other people are walking. He's worried about John being the favorite. He's the beloved one, right? But this is a good takeaway for us. You can't worry about other people in their walk. You can't worry about why he can do things that you can't do. You have to do what the Lord commanded you to do. Okay? And then verse 23. So this rumor spread to the brothers and sisters that this disciple would not die. Yet Jesus did not tell him that he would not die. But if I want him to remain until I come, what is that to you? So he basically saying like, why is this your business? Don't worry about this. Verse 24, this is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. We know that this testimony is true. I like to underline that part because John is telling the truth from a biblical perspective, like for the Jews to see, following the laws. And so that's why we've been kind of like tying the threads to the prophecies. So this is where we get messianic Christians, where they were just straight up Jews and they only follow the Torah and then they understand the truth, but they still follow the Torah and all the things. Messianic Jews. Why? Because they're able to see that people like the Apostle John were able to tie threads in the book of John with the miracles and the signs and the wonders that were happening here to Old Testament prophecy, showing that they were able to come together. Oh no, this was prophesied about in this day, back in the old day, that sort of thing. Um, so I love that for us. We know that this is true. And that is the whole uh, perspective and vantage point of John, to make sure that even the Jews can know that all of this is true. So every Bible I get always underline. We know that his testimony is true. Verse 25, and there are so many other things that Jesus did, which every one of them, if they were written down, I suppose not even the world itself could contain the books that would be written. Jesus is amazing. Not only is he amazing, he is the Redeemer who grants forgiveness to those who believed in him. And he gave so many opportunities for people to believe in him. He met them with grace, he met them where they were. He took care of their physical needs and then addressed their spiritual needs. And so, if you didn't get anything else from this book, I hope it's to be more like Jesus. I hope that this book blessed you because, man, even in times where we have done wrong or we've sinned or we've denied Jesus, he's showing us that there is grace available and we can right our wrongs. And so I just want to leave y'all with John chapter 14, verse 21. He who knows my commands and obeys them loves me. And I want you to ask yourself, do you truly love the Lord? Are you obeying his commands? Are you obeying them? Because it's one thing to know them, it's another thing to obey them. Because that's who loves me. I love you. I hope this blessed you. If it did, please share with 3 friends. I'm so sorry we had to break this down into 2 parts, but I had to make sure that I got this to you. I'm super excited because we are officially closing season 2 with Pastor John wrapping us up with a bow on next Sunday. This Thursday, Minister Tiffany will be on with Bible and Balance. Saturday, is it evening, Pastor? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Saturday we'll do Bible study evening because we're still in baseball. And what chapter are we on again?
Philippians 4, I believe.
Why would you do that? Philippians chapter 4 is where we are for Bible study on Saturday. Sunday, I will not be here. Pastor John will be teaching. I don't know if it's going to be live or pre-recorded. I think it'll probably be a pre-recorded. And that'll wrap up season 2 of Morning Manna. When I come back on the 29th, we will open up season 3 of Morning Manna. We will be walking through the book of Daniel, and immediately after, we'll be walking through the book of Revelation because the countdown has started. I'll share more about that the week after in our July prophecy. I love you. I mean it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you. Goodbye.